On Christmas night, my mother said something casually. That one sentence made me lose sight of where I belonged, just a little. "You've been nothing but work lately." She said it in a way that reset my current life back to single. The living room was filled with the usual music and the usual laughter. My father swirled his glass. My sister looked at her smartphone. No one corrected those words. I didn't say anything immediately. Should I correct her here? Or is it more natural to let it slide? Is there any point in restating that I am married, right now? I didn't have the answer yet. Silence leaves a record where words cannot stand. Silence becomes a record. That sentence stuck in the back of my head for some reason. I didn't understand the meaning yet, but I felt that from this point on, something was beginning to shift, little by little. Was it wrong of me to say nothing at that moment? If you were in my shoes, would you have corrected her right there? Or would you have let it slide in silence? 8 months ago, I spent 3 nights writing invitations. I didn't want to use cheap paper. I wanted something with just a little weight when touched. 300-gram cardstock, the kind of paper that tells you it's something cherished the moment you hold it. I lined up the envelopes and cards on the dining table in my living room. I wrote the addresses one by one. My father's name, my mother's name, my sister's name. I waited for the ink to dry. I adjusted the positioning again and again. I checked the slant of the letters. Before sealing them, I always read them over once more. Were there any mistakes? Was it polite enough? Was it nothing to be ashamed of? Theodore stood at the entrance of the kitchen, watching my hands silently. "Maybe you should call them," he said. His voice was quiet. There was no blame in it. I shook my head as I retied a ribbon. "It's okay. They're my parents." As I said it, I knew somewhere deep down that I was just trying to convince myself. Back then, I wasn't used to being the one who gets forgotten. I remembered my first wedding 7 years ago. The 2 seats in the front row remained empty. 10 minutes before the ceremony started, I stood there with my phone in hand, constantly looking at the entrance. Rather than looking for a reason, I wanted to believe there was a reason. They must be busy. They must be sick. Maybe some urgent work came up. I was always good at preparing excuses for other people's circumstances. This time is different. I wanted to think so. I sent all the invitations via FedEx Express. They had tracking numbers, the type that sends a notification upon delivery. It was a system where I could confirm if they arrived. The notification came properly. February 12th, 10:15 a.m. Delivery complete. Seeing that, I felt a little relieved. If it arrived, they would surely contact me. That's what I thought. They didn't. 1 week passed. 2 weeks. A month. Theodore said a few times, "Why don't you try contacting them again?" I answered, "I'll wait a little longer." It wasn't really waiting. I was afraid to confirm it. If I asked, I felt like something would become finalized. On the morning of the ceremony, I looked at the seats in the front row and took one deep breath. I could still think of many reasons. The plane was delayed. They got stuck in traffic. They took the wrong road. I kept preparing circumstances for them until the very end. The ceremony started on schedule. The 2 seats remained empty until the very end. That night, in the hotel room, Theodore didn't say anything. He just held my hand. I said, "Surely something happened to them." He just replied, "You're right." We didn't speak any more than that. 8 months have passed since then. Neither my parents nor my sister have mentioned my marriage once. No congratulations. No calls. No confirmation. I sent updates a few times. Short reports with photos attached. They were marked as read. There were almost no replies. Still, I thought, maybe they just forgot. Forgetting isn't necessarily malice. I wanted to believe that. That is why I came here today. Because it's Christmas. Because we are family. I thought that, at the very least, it wasn't being treated as something that never happened. Looking at the boxes on the table, I was still considering the possibility that I was in the wrong. Maybe I'm taking this too seriously. Maybe they are genuinely just worried about me. Trying to think that way, I said nothing. Silence was still just a habit. At that time, I hadn't yet thought about where that silence would be recorded. Let me write a little about myself. I am Catherine, 30 years old. I work as an architect in Austin, Texas. My current husband is Theodore. He works in cybersecurity and is a much quieter thinker than I am. This was my second marriage. My first marriage was 7 years ago. That marriage is over. I don't intend to write the reasons in detail. I don't want to make anyone the villain. However, The fact that I failed at marriage once remains inside me. My family consists of my father, my mother, and a sister 3 years younger than me. My sister, Lily. Lily has always been the person at the center of the family. I was not. Perhaps because of that, I had gotten used to keeping a distance from my family without realizing it. Still, regarding this marriage, I thought I had conveyed it properly. I didn't know yet where or how that information was recorded in their minds. Returning to my parents' house on Christmas Eve was, honestly, something I wasn't looking forward to. The reason was clear. In this house, the events of my life are either treated with a delay or treated as if they never happened from the start. Still, I could never take the option of not coming. Because we're family. I've used those words on myself so many times. Before ringing the doorbell, I touched my wedding ring once inside my coat pocket. For 8 months, I haven't taken this ring off once. There was no reason to take it off. There was no reason to hide it. Yet, in this house, the number of things better left unseen naturally increases. As soon as my mother saw me, she said, "Oh, it's been a while." The way she said it was more like greeting a distant relative than a daughter she hadn't seen in 6 months. Lily stood up from the living room sofa and waved lightly. "Must be cold out." That was it. No one said, "Congratulations on your marriage." I blamed myself a little for noticing that. Maybe it's strange to care. It's been 8 months already. It's not a topic to bring up now. I tried to think that way. While preparing the meal, Mom and Lily talked about Lily's wedding the whole time. The dress design, viewing the venue, the guest list. I listened while mixing the salad at the edge of the kitchen. "We plan to invite 300 people," Mom said proudly. "That sounds like a lot of work," I replied. There was nothing else to say. My ceremony had fewer than 100 people. The location was a small winery in Texas. It wasn't luxurious, but it was just right for me. That topic never came up in this house. In the evening, Mom said casually, "Lily is doing so well. Good age, good partner, good timing." I didn't stop wiping the dishes. "I suppose so," I answered. Good age, good partner, good timing. I pretended not to notice that I wasn't included in those words. Father, as always, only talked about work, new clients, next projects, plans for next year. My topic only came up when he asked, "Is work going well?" "It's going well," I answered, and that was it. It didn't turn into a conversation about marriage. That night, after putting my bags in my room, I sent one message to Theodore. Arrived safely. His reply came immediately. "Good. Don't push yourself." Reading that short sentence, I exhaled a little. Someone knows my present properly. That fact alone was enough. Before dinner, Mom said in the living room, "Come to think of it, next year is going to be busy with the preparations for Lily's wedding." I answered, "You're right." At that moment, for just a split second, I thought this. Maybe the topic of my marriage is being treated as a story that's already finished. A ceremony that ended 8 months ago. Even as a record, it's an old event. Maybe it's out of place to touch on it now. Maybe I'm the one being dramatic. At the dinner table, Father suddenly spoke. "There's talk of building a new house for Lily and her husband next year." Mom nodded happily. "Are you going to design it?" Of course. Listening to that conversation, I remembered my own ceremony. Back then, the design of the venue, the flow of movement, the lighting, I decided everything myself. I never consulted my father. It wasn't that I didn't consult him. The idea of consulting him never occurred to me from the start. That was normal. "Catherine, you're still alone, right?" Mom said it as if confirming something, just as the meal was ending. For a moment, I thought I misheard. "What?" "You know, you're all about work, so you don't meet many people." I froze, holding my fork. Is this just a slip of the tongue? Or does she really think that? "Mom, I started to say it, but stopped. Is it necessary to correct her right here? Wouldn't bringing it up now just ruin the mood? Maybe Mom really just forgot. The possibility isn't zero. In the end, I said nothing. "I suppose so," I answered, ending the topic. Silence was always the easiest choice in this house. That night, lying in bed, I stared at the ceiling. I thought about sending Theodore another message. Mom thought I was single today. I started writing it, then deleted it. It's not a big deal. It's not even funny enough to be a joke. I'm probably worrying too much. Because it's my second marriage. Maybe my family is just being cautious. Maybe it's because I didn't explain it properly. It was much easier to look for reasons like that. I genuinely thought at that time that silence would still protect me. The next morning, I woke up a little earlier than usual. The ceilings in my parents' house have the same pattern in every room. The moment I opened my eyes, I didn't know where I was. Remembering that I looked up at this same ceiling 7 years ago and 8 months ago, I let out a small breath. When I went downstairs, Mom was already in the kitchen. It smelled of coffee, and the toaster was popping. I said, "Good morning," and Mom replied, "Good morning." There was no further conversation for a while. After sitting at the table, I chose my words once. "Hey, Mom, about what you said yesterday." Mom looked at me, cup in hand. "What?" "Yesterday. It seemed like you thought I was still single." Mom tilted her head slightly. "Did I say that? Maybe I should have turned back here." But I couldn't leave the unease that had remained in my chest since yesterday. "I'm already married, you know." Mom was silent for a few seconds. It was a silence that felt like she was searching her memory rather than thinking. "Oh, come to think of it, I feel like I heard something like that before." The way she said it was as light as if I had once mentioned a travel plan. "It was 8 months ago. I sent an invitation, and the ceremony is over." I said it as gently as I could. It was meant as a confirmation, not a correction. Mom laughed vaguely. "Is that so?" Lately, with everything going on, my memory is. I couldn't doubt her words, nor could I press her further. Maybe she really has forgotten. Maybe it's her age. Maybe the way I said it was confusing. It was much easier to think that way. Before noon, Lily came back from shopping. I found myself alone with her in the kitchen and decided to ask the same thing. "Lily, do you know that I'm already married?" Lily looked a little surprised, then immediately laughed. "Huh? What's with the sudden question?" "Of course I've heard about it." "You've heard about it? You know, you talked about it before. That you were seeing someone." I got stuck on the way she said it. "Not seeing someone. I am already married." Lily looked troubled. "Catherine, your stories change all the time. Honestly, I never know what's real and what isn't." I lost my words. "Change?" "Yeah. After your last marriage, you dated a few guys and said you might get married, right?" That was true. After the divorce, I had a few serious relationships and talked about the future. But this is different. This time, I actually held a ceremony, registered the marriage, wore a ring, and live with my husband. This time, I am really married. I restated it. Lily looked at my left hand once, but it wasn't a gaze that clearly confirmed what was there. "Sorry, I'm not saying you're bad or anything. It's just, your stories are hard to follow." Hard to follow. That phrase quietly remained in my chest. Maybe my way of speaking is bad. Maybe I haven't conveyed it properly. Maybe I've used the word marriage too lightly in the past. In the afternoon, I asked my father the same thing. "Dad, do you know that I'm already married?" Father looked up from his newspaper and answered shortly, "Ah, I know." I felt a little relieved at that one word. "Then, did you tell Mom and Lily that?" Father thought for a while before speaking. "Your stories always end in the middle." I couldn't ask back what that meant. Ends in the middle. Vague. Hard to understand. Doesn't stick in the memory. That afternoon, I replayed my way of speaking over and over in my head. What did I say on the phone when I sent the invitation? Did I clearly convey the date of the ceremony? Did I say the location accurately? Did I speak in a way that would make them remember his name? Maybe I treated something as important as marriage too quietly. Without telling anyone strongly. Without confirming with anyone. I assumed I understood why they didn't come. I processed everything inside myself. In the evening, I called Theodore. "Do you think I conveyed our marriage to my family properly?" He thought for a moment before answering. "You told me you told them. But whether it was conveyed or not, that might be different." The way he said it was very honest. After hanging up, I couldn't move from the sofa for a while. Maybe my delivery really was the problem. Because it's my second marriage. Because my first marriage didn't go well. Maybe my family just listens to my stories cautiously now. No one is denying it out of malice. No one is trying to hurt me. Maybe my story just isn't worth trusting. That night, I took off my wedding ring and let it sit in my palm for a while. Is this my reality? Or is it an event I'm just imagining? Silence was still a convenient excuse that blamed the situation on me. That evening, there were more people in the living room than usual. My aunt and her husband, my mother's cousin, Lily's fiance. Everyone had a look on their face that said they were naturally there because the family is gathering. I have always been a little bad at times when there are many people in this house. Topics are decided without me knowing. and things about me are organized without me. Dishes prepared by mom lined the table, wine bottles were uncorked, and someone put on music. For a Christmas gathering, it was a very ordinary scene. I sat on the edge of the sofa, holding a glass, listening to the flow of conversation. The center of the topic was, as always, Lily's wedding. The final candidates for the venue. The selection of the MC. The speech father is preparing. I was no longer surprised that my ceremony was never mentioned. I tried to convince myself that this was the standard operation of this house. After a while, my aunt asked casually, "Catherine, what are your plans for next year?" The question wasn't malicious. It was just a common phrase to find the next topic of conversation. I searched for words for just a moment. What is the correct answer here? I'll continue working. I don't plan to move. I haven't decided yet. There were plenty of answers like that. Still, I quietly spoke the words I had been avoiding. Since I am already married, I plan to decide next year's schedule with my husband. The air in the room stopped for just a split second. Just one beat. The sound of someone placing a glass on the table was strangely clear. My aunt looked a little surprised and looked at my mother. My mother was looking at Lily, not me. Lily looked away for a second, then immediately made a smile. That story again? That phrase was like a joke, like a confirmation, and like a warning. What do you mean, that story? I asked back in a voice that surprised even me with its quietness. You know, you said it before, that you married someone. I felt the sound of my heartbeat getting a little louder. Not before. I actually got married 8 months ago. Mom finally looked at me. Catherine, that is. She seemed to be choosing her words. You've told stories like that a few times before, haven't you? The way she said it was almost the same as the words I heard yesterday. This time is different. I repeated only that. This time, I am really married, Father said in a low voice. Catherine, calm down. I am calm, I thought. I'm not screaming. I'm not crying. I'm not angry. I was just stating facts. I sent invitations, and the ceremony is properly finished, my aunt said, looking troubled. I don't remember seeing an invitation like that. Me neither, said my cousin. No one said I couldn't go. No one said I was busy. The conversation started to proceed on the premise that such a thing never existed. Mom, I called you, didn't I? The date, the place. Mom was silent for a while, then said, Aren't you confusing things? Confusing. That word sank slowly into the depths of my chest. Work stories, private stories, maybe lots of schedules overlapped. No. I shook my head slightly. I talked about my wedding, Lily said, looking a little irritated. Catherine, I'm going to be honest. Just from that preamble, I understood what was coming. You have a habit of talking vaguely about important things. I didn't argue. That wasn't something I could completely deny. Plus, after your last marriage, you talked about maybe getting married again many times. That was also a fact. So, I thought this was just another one of those stories. I took a slow breath. This time, it's not a story. I repeated the words as if telling them to myself. It's reality, Mom said quietly. But we haven't heard about such a marriage. With that one sentence, the atmosphere changed decisively. Haven't heard. Don't know. Don't remember. It was the moment all those things became the same meaning. Then, what did I do? That question wasn't directed at anyone. It was a question directed at myself. I stood up slowly and took my smartphone out of my coat pocket. I have a photo of the invitation. I operated the screen as I spoke. No one came closer. No one tried to look. The name of the venue, the date, it's all here, Father said in a slightly irritated voice. Catherine, what proof is there that it's real? The question was very calm and very rational. Photos can be edited as much as you want. I couldn't say anything. Editing, fabrication, misunderstanding. The choice of words was different, but the meanings were starting to align in the same direction. Lily said clearly, Honestly, we don't think you really got married. The words weren't in an accusing tone. It was the voice of a person who was worried. Maybe you're tired from work, and reality and imagination are getting mixed up a little? I almost laughed. I never thought the day would come when such words would be directed at me. Theodore is a real person, I said. He is living with me in Texas right now, Mom said, looking troubled. Then why haven't you let us meet him even once? I couldn't answer that question. Work is busy. The distance. The timing didn't match. There were many reasons, but they were all reasons that sounded like excuses. Catherine, Father said in a clear voice, I'm saying this for your sake. After that introduction, I heard words I would never forget for the rest of my life. Are you lying to us? Lying. That word had the power to flip reality itself inside out within me. I couldn't deny it immediately. Before saying no, I thought this. Maybe my memory really is wrong. I was rearranging my life from the beginning in my head. The night I wrote the invitations. The morning I mailed them. The morning of the ceremony. The moment I put on the ring. To me, they were clear memories. But everyone in this room is denying them. The majority versus one. Which is reality? I couldn't say anything on the spot. No one yelled at me. No one blamed me. I just watched silently as the events of my life were treated as if they didn't exist. Silence at this moment was no longer my lie. Silence at this point was not a record, but the absence of evidence. I slipped out into the hallway once and entered the bathroom. Even with the door closed, the voices from the living room reached me faintly. Only the outline of laughter remained through the wall. I washed my hands in front of the mirror. It was the usual motion, but my fingertips lagged a little. The ring on my left hand shone as metal under the fluorescent light. I didn't spin the ring. I didn't take it off. I just wiped my wet hands on a towel and confirmed the ridge of the ring once. I took my smartphone out of my pocket and opened the photo folder. Not the invitation photo, but something else. An image of the marriage certificate. The page where we both signed. The scene where Theodore laughed the moment we stamped it. And he said, "Your hand isn't shaking." The video is short, but it captures a body temperature other than mine. When I closed the screen, one notification remained. A short message from Theodore. "How is it?" I didn't reply immediately. I typed one character in the input field and deleted it. I felt that too many words would turn into noise here. I found a small notepad on the edge of the sink. It was for Mom to write shopping lists. I took a pen and wrote only the date, December 24th. I started to write a short line following it, but stopped. If I leave words here, they will get caught in the paper flow of this house. I put the pen tip back, didn't tear the page, and closed it as it was. Instead, I opened a memo on my smartphone. In the title field, I just typed 12/24. In the body, just one sentence. I was told it was a lie. I wouldn't write anything more. Not the situation. Not who said it. No explanation. This wasn't a story, but a stake driven into the ground for myself. The voices in the living room grew a little louder. Someone must have proposed a toast. I washed my hands again and turned off the faucet. After the sound of water cut off, the silence of the room returned. The me in the mirror wasn't crying. I wasn't laughing either. I looked into my own eyes and stayed there for just a short moment. When I put my hand on the doorknob, the floor creaked once behind me. Maybe someone passed through the hallway. Without turning around, I opened the door. The air in the hallway was a little colder than before. I didn't think I disliked that coldness. Before thinking I disliked it, I stepped forward. Someone laughed. Someone cleared their throat. And someone tried to change the subject. The atmosphere in the living room was trying to maintain the shape of a Christmas gathering, just like before. But inside me, something remained quietly severed. The word lie wasn't a blade attacking my character, but closer to a stamp invalidating my reality. Father wasn't angry. Mother wasn't crying. Lily wasn't triumphant, with expressions that meant they were worried about me. They were dropping the events of my life off the desk. I could have piled up objections right there. I could have looked for evidence. I could have raised my voice. But I felt that the more I did that, the more I would play into this house of rules. My reality would be put on trial. The evidence would be graded. And finally, it would end with, "Your way of speaking is bad." I could already see that future. I put my smartphone back in my pocket. Showing the screen now had no meaning. People who want to see will try to see from the start. Showing it to people who don't want to see will just bring me back to the same place. I'm going to get some fresh air. I said it. My voice didn't tremble. I found myself a little ridiculous for trying to speak politely. Mom said, "Catherine, not now." Father continued, "Don't drag this out. Just calm down and rest." Lily followed me only with her eyes. It was a gaze that didn't stop me. A gaze that felt no right or need to stop me. The hallway to the entrance was the same as the old days. The photos on the wall, the ornaments, the slightly chipped picture frame. Was I the only one who changed? Or am I the only one expected not to change? Stepping outside, cold air entered my lungs. The garden at night was quiet. Lights were on in the neighbors' windows. And I heard a child laughing somewhere. My family isn't the only special one. I didn't want to conclude right now that my family was the only abnormal one either. I didn't head for the car. Instead, I sat down on the front steps. I took out my smartphone and opened the tracking number search screen. The notification history hadn't disappeared. The delivery complete display, the signature, the time. 8 months ago, 10:15 a.m. That was the only thing that was indifferent. A mechanical fact that didn't sandwich human emotions. There, for the first time, I thought about what I wanted to do. Do I want to make them understand? Do I want to make them apologize? Do I want to make them admit it? Ideally, I think I just wanted them to celebrate. At the very least, I wanted them to know. I wanted them not to treat the life their daughter chose for the second time lightly. But that wish is in their hands. A wish that depends on whether the other person grants it is closer to a chain, even if it's shaped like a wish. I closed the screen. The tracking number isn't for opening here. It's not for thrusting at my family to win. It was a quiet stake to keep me from losing sight of my reality. Suddenly, I remembered my own words from a few days ago. Silence becomes a record. Back then, I didn't understand the meaning yet. I thought if I chose silence, friction would decrease. I thought if I chose silence, things would settle smoothly. Now it looks a little different. Silence becomes a record, but the meaning changes depending on whose hands the record remains in. Every time I stay silent, the record that Catherine is vague increases inside the people in this house. Every time I stay silent, I am arranged into a convenient shape within their story. I stood up and opened the front door. The laughter in the living room was a little louder than when I went outside. Someone is trying to bring the atmosphere back. I didn't want to deny that effort, but I also understood that my reality wasn't placed at the center of that effort. "Catherine," Mom called out quietly. I turned and looked at Mom's face. She seemed to be looking at my eyes, but also not. Her focal point was adjusted to the balance of the room, not me. I knew that gaze. "You're tired, you know," Mom said. It was a gentle voice. That's why I had trouble replying. It is a fact that I am tired, but my marriage didn't happen because of fatigue. The ring doesn't exist because of fatigue. My husband doesn't exist because of fatigue. Yeah, a little. I answered only that. Father said, "Tomorrow is the hospital. It's early in the morning. Don't think about unnecessary things." Unnecessary things. My marriage is an unnecessary thing. I rolled that sensation around in my chest once and dropped it. Picking it up would only hurt. Lily said from the edge of the sofa, "Catherine, please, don't say weird things. Everyone is troubled." Who is troubled? If they believe I am lying, I should be the one in trouble. If I am truly not lying, the ones in trouble should be the side that cannot receive a reality without lies. I decided, for the first time there, not to rush my judgment. Tonight, I won't debate my family. Tonight, I won't persuade my family. Tonight, I won't make my family the villains. Instead, tonight, I will choose just one thing. I'm going home now. While it's still Christmas night, Theodore is waiting for me. The moment I said that name, Lily's eyebrow moved slightly. Mom pursed her lips. Father looked away. No one strongly denied it, but they didn't affirm it either. The congratulations I saw it wasn't there. The "I want to meet him" I saw it wasn't there. The "I'm happy for you" I saw it wasn't there either. A thin resignation spread inside me. Resignation isn't defeat. Resignation can be reclaiming your lifeline from others by giving up on one specific point. Maybe I was choosing that kind of resignation tonight. I went upstairs to get my things. In the drawer of my room, an old notebook remained. A memo from high school. Something like a diary. Turning the pages, handwriting of a me I don't know appears. There was silence there too. There were more things unwritten. There were more things I couldn't say. I didn't feel like blaming that. The me back then was doing her best. I put my bag on my shoulder and went down the stairs. When putting on my shoes at the entrance, I touched my wedding ring one more time. I didn't take it off. Not to show it off. Not to hide it. I just decided to keep holding it. Not to make someone admit it. But so I wouldn't lose sight of myself. I got in the car and started the engine. The coldness of the steering wheel remained in my hands. Lights were still on in the windows of the house, and laughter was leaking out. I decided not to resent that light. Resentment looks strong, but it connects you to other people's lives. On the way back, I sent a short message to Theodore. "Leaving now. We'll be a little late." A reply came immediately. "Be careful. Let's talk when you get home." With that one sentence, something inside me settled just a little. Someone is receiving my present without doubting it. That was close to the shape of the thing I had wanted all along. After getting on the highway, I ruminated on tonight's events in my head one last time. Father's word, lie. Mother's word, tired. Lily's words, don't say weird things. I looked for the possibility that I was in the wrong. If I didn't search, I felt like this story wouldn't end inside me. If I had reported the marriage more flashily, if I had gone to see them in person instead of just calling, if I had confirmed the arrival of the invitation, if I had reminded them once more the day before the ceremony. Hypotheticals like that came up endlessly. But at the same time, another question emerged. Is that within the scope of my responsibility? Can I impose a duty on them not to forget? Can I impose a duty on them to celebrate? I cannot. So, I choose something else. Silence becomes a record. I thought that faintly halfway through. No, I can rephrase it a little. I will not leave my silence in this house. I will keep my reality in my own hands. I won't let my reality be organized in someone else's hands. I won't let the events of my life be graded. I will place my marriage inside me. The moment I decided that, nothing changed dramatically. Neither the hands gripping the steering wheel nor the scenery of the road changed. But while nothing changed, a line was drawn inside me. Lines cannot be drawn with loud voices. Lines cannot be drawn with explanations. Lines are drawn quietly, within daily life. I went home. I just drove home through the Christmas night traffic. That was my choice. Was my choice wrong? Faced with a family that called my reality a lie, I chose distance over persuasion. If you were in my position, how far would you go to explain? Or where would you draw the line and walk away?